Okay, what's your full name?
Gazzy here, Buckshot Prospector. I hope you're well and I hope life is treating you well. We're in my shed again and we're going to be making a bit more jewellery today. And I'm going to be trying to do a few of my first attempts at a different style of pendant. So expect to have some mistakes in this video. That's how you learn. And yeah, I'll show you what I'm planning on doing today. I've got some new copper wire. The copper wire is a thick gauge copper wire, and I've just been playing around with it and trying to do soldering. So soldering some bases. So I'll show you my first little experiments. This was my first attempt. I kind of stuffed up the soldering and I kind of extended a bit and it just really stuffed up. So that's just experiment number one. Experiment number two. The solder went alright, but it kind of melted all around, and I tried to grind it off, but it didn't really work too well. Then I did this. This is more finished, so you can see the solder's pretty clean. There's a little gap there, but I'm happy with that because it'll be covered in wire. And it's being sandpapered and some of the marks are being removed. I'm still learning how to actually polish metals properly. This was yesterday's experiment. The solder went really good on this, so yeah. That's the first part of the thing that I'm still sort of experimenting with and trying to create these bases for these pendants. So I'll still do wire wrapping, but these will be the main structure that the wire wrapping will work around it. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one of these frames. So I'm going to shape it, bend it, solder it, and then yeah, see how it works. Mind you, I'm still learning how to solder and I'm getting there. I've kind of worked it out, and I'll explain later what I was doing that was giving good and bad results. So anyway, I'll just turn this other camera on. Now this is the wire. It's really hard to cut, but I got some new pliers and God, they make it so much easier to cut through these. Before I was using small pliers and I was sitting there going, "Argh!" Don't do that. Get bigger pliers. You've got more leverage when you've got bigger pliers. So we've got a small length. Now this wire is not the most easiest to bend. I can tell you that much. I mean, it is to a point, but it can be quite difficult to shape. Especially when it bends in the wrong places. Right, so we got a bit of a structure there. Now I bend it with my hands just like this, because it's a lot more easier. And I want to try and get sort of, I might go for sort of that shape, I reckon. So what I do is I'll bend it in like this, and I'll bend it in on the other side like this. Hope to God that it's even. It's not really even great. Learning from your mistakes. Okay, I might have to recut this. Take two. Right in the middle, try and bend it. That would be a better idea, David. Do that. I should have done that from the first bit. Mark it with the ruler, then bend it. Then it will be even. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. What I'm going to do is I have to cut these two wires, but instead of using a saw or something like that, I'm just going to use one of these little grinding blades. When you're cutting metals, it's always best to wear glasses, safety glasses, and gloves, because metal heats up pretty damn quickly. So, safety glasses on, put my cap back on. Now I'm going to try and make as straight as cut as possible. Now we might have to do a bit of grinding on this one. Right, so we've got that. What I need to do now is hammer this out. So we're going to the messy floor with this. So this is a metal block and I've got a hammer. So what I do is I just start hammering it out like this. Just to get the right shape. And I do this prior to actually trying to join them up, because what happens is as it flattens, it stretches out like that. You've got to be careful when you're doing this, because last time I did this, I hit my thumb a couple of times and got a big blood blister on my thumb, as you probably saw in the video. Now I want to just flatten it all around so it's all symmetrical. That's looking alright. Try and press these together. So a lot of force with your hands. See how I've overlapped the two joints? So now I can just push them together like this, and they're a bit better together, but yeah, I think I need to turn one in a bit more. This bit's always a bit fiddly because you have to grind bits off here and there. You want to have a clean joint. So yeah, I still need to just grind this, so I'll get back to this. Right, so that's close enough. I just had to grind this a bit more with some files. This is what I'm finding the most difficult part to do at the moment, is soldering. So some of you probably know exactly how to solder. I'm still learning. So the first thing you need to add to this is flux. Flux paste helps with the melting of the solder and helps it guide the solder into the joints. So we add this. Around the joint. Now I think I probably put too much in, but yeah. So I've got the flux on there. I'll just put that aside. Now I cut a little bit of solder, just a tiny amount. So what I need to do next is put the solder on right on the joint. So around there, right? Now, originally when I first started soldering this, and I looked at videos, they were saying just do it like this. Like, put the flame on and melt it with the solder going in there. But what I was finding is that it was melting down and not going in the joint. So I learned, if you flip it around gently as you can. So when you have the solder under the copper, when it heats up, what will happen is, because this is hotter and the solder's colder, capillary action will occur and it will suck the solder up into the joint. So yeah, I'm warning you, it might not be the best. And hopefully I don't melt anything around me. Now it should just drop at some point. There we go. Just keep it heated for a little bit. I still don't have a pickle to put my my little pendants in, so this is just straight water. Now that's cool. The joint's looking okay. There's only a little bit, and it's gotten right through the whole seam. So that's awesome. So that's the first part of this. Now, I'm gonna grind this down and just shape it a bit. So I use the different sandpapers to make it a bit more shinier. bit more nicer, you know. So that's what I need to do now. As I was saying earlier on, it's best to have safety glasses. When I was actually cutting this, I could feel little bits of metal hit my face, so I had to turn the cutter away from my face because, yeah, little bits of metal were hitting my face. Now, if I didn't have these on, it probably would have gotten into my eye. So always wear safety glasses. The safety squint doesn't work with metal shards. And I've had a friend that's went to hospital to get metal shards out of his eyes, and whereas tell me about the process, nobody wants to go through that process. Like injections directly in the eye, seeing the injection going into his eye, not good. I know with the finish of this, it's not going to be the best because I'm still learning how to polish metals, and yeah, I never really paid attention in metalwork. I was too busy throwing things into acid to pay attention to what we were supposed to actually be doing. So yeah, it might be rough. Yeah. I know with the finish of this, it's not going to be the best because I'm still learning how to polish metals, and yeah, I never really paid attention in metalwork. I was too busy throwing things into acid to pay attention to what we were supposed to actually be doing. So yeah, it might be rough. Yeah. Now I need to get on the inside of this, so I need to change my little bits to a smaller drum sander. I did say that I was going to use this sander, but I think what I'll do is I'll use a different grinder, stony kind of thing. Hopefully that works. If it doesn't, well, as I said, this is all learning. Now, it's pretty much the same deal when it comes to polishing rocks to polishing stones. You just have to gradually move up the grits. So I'll just quickly do this and we'll get it to a buff and then I'll get back to you. So it's the next day. I had a bit of trouble with the stones yesterday and I cut a few and they didn't really work. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be cutting some stones. Now, I do have some of this. This is Labradorite. It's a nice colour in that. Sort of greeny blue. This one though, oh my god, I love this. Look at that. It's like an electric matrix kind of thing going on there. But I'm going to leave this for a later date because it's such a cool rock and I really want to do it some justice. So what I think I'll do first is try and cut something out of this. Now, I found that when I was marking up the stones yesterday, I was using a garden marker and it just kept on rubbing off. So I needed to work out a different way of doing it. So I'm going to be using masking tape. It's not gaffer tape. It's not sticky tape. They all have different functions. Some people don't know the difference between sticky tape and gaffer tape. Sticky tape is for presents and things like that. Gaffer tape is for shutting people's mouths up that just keep on talking absolute crap. I'm using masking tape. It's great for painting and keeping a crisp line. Its job is kind of in its name. I like gaffer tape. Now, I've got a pen. I'm going to just try and roughly mark this out. And I want to try and push it as close to the edge as possible just to get a nice snug fit for the rock. So that's the shape that we're working with. I'm going to just try and cut a shape with this. So I'm thinking if I make it a bit more smaller, so around like that, and like that, because we need to have space for the wires around it. So we'll go with a sort of shaped rock like that. Now I'll just cut this out. Right, so we've got the basic shape there. I'm going to try and set this on the stone so we get a nice mix of colour through this band here, like that. So now I'm going to have to cut this. I'm going to be using my diamond cutting blade, and we'll just try and get this shape cut out. Alright, the masking tape didn't work, it came off, so that's not good. It's not good at all. But we did cut a slice, nice thin bit. So that should come up alright, I'd say. I think what I'll do is I'll try some gaffer tape because that's a bit more waterproof. So mark out this shape. Now what we need to do is get this stuck onto the stone. Make sure that it sticks. Now I'm going to trim around this, so I'll use the same grinding wheel. That stayed on, thankfully. So we've got a bit of a rough sort of trim out of that. Now what I need to do is shape this. What I've been finding with this Labradorite is it's pretty damn sensitive to heat and it will fracture. So I found that the diamond bits seem to work a bit better when it comes to shaping the pieces. So I think what I'll do is I'll stick to the diamond pieces because it's, yeah, way better for doing this. So I think what I'll do though is I will do it dry because it seems as though if I add any moisture to this tape, it's just going to come off. So yeah, I mean, these are cheap drill bits anyway, so it doesn't matter. They'll probably wear out pretty damn quick. So yeah, I'll do that now. I definitely want to be wearing a mask when I'm doing this. Right, so this is shaped a bit better. Now I want to try and dome this, but I'll see how I go for yeah, how it will come up. I've taken the tape off, so that's looking okay at the moment. One side doesn't have as much black in it, so I'll try and do the side that doesn't have as much black. So now I have to shape this, so I'm going to try and take off the edges with the diamond drill drum. I might not do that because it's just going to give an uneven mark on it, so I think what I'll do is I'll try and shape it on the sander. I'll just be very careful with it. Want to be pretty damn careful with this because it's really prone to heat. So I'll wet this sandpaper. This is a 240 grit sandpaper. That held up pretty well with the sander, which is really good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to polish this and make it all shiny. This is pretty much done now. We're back in my room. I've got two sets of pliers here, one to shape, one to cut with. I've also got some 18 gauge copper wire, and we've also got some half square copper wire. I think it's like 20 gauge. What I need to do is create the bail for the frame, so I need to attach that first before I do anything else. Right, so I have to cut a length of this square wire. I'll probably cut that much. That's enough for a bail, I'd say. I kind of stuffed up and I broke these pliers. So we'll put that aside. Now I'm expecting to do some mistakes. I'll try and straighten this a little bit. And now I'll just measure this. It's 22, so we need to cut it at 11. That's at 11 right there. So we've got these two wires. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach them both to the top of this wire to cover up that solder. So what we'll do is I'll need a decent length. So I'll do two or three wraps around the frame. So that's one. Get this at the right length. And do the same. Right, so we've got those kind of lined up. I'll press this down. Sure that they're together. It's a bit loose, but it will stiffen up once it's connected. Trim these off. Immediately tuck them in under the frame. We've got this now. Just trim this back a little bit. So we've got the bail. So I have to wrap this. So I need to use this wire and wrap it around, weaving it between the two wires. Put this on the base wire, wrap it around 3 or so times. This will be covered up once it's curled around. Right, so that's pretty much wrapped. Just do 3 over here, and that should be good. We need to cut this here, cut this here. In, and then I'd cut these 2 wires here, which might make it a little bit tricky with these damn pliers. No. Cut this one here. You can. There. And then I just tuck these in, can't see them. So I've got the bail attached. Now that we've done that, we have to try and get this stone to sit in here. So I'm just trying to work out how I want to do this. I want it to look pretty ornate. Now I want to try and make a frame around this stone. So I've got some square wire, but I want to flatten it out more. So how do I do that? So I use a pasta maker. If you don't know what a pasta maker is, look it up. I'm not going to explain it. So I'm going to put this at the smallest setting and then run the wire through it. Just wind it around, and what it does is it flattens out the wire a bit more. You can use this hack to turn round wire into flat wire. So it's a bit more wider now, if you can see that, and it's flatter, which is going to help for what I want to do. Now I want to try and make a frame around this, but I'm going to make like a wider kind of point around it. The pliers, bend them around this so they sit around the rock. Join them up like that. So I'll just wrap some wire around this joint here so I can just kind of pinch this piece in, and then we'll bring the wires back around. Let's just tuck this wire in behind. So now I need to get some smaller wire, wrap it, and try and house this. That's one side done. Now I have to do it on the other side. So I'll put those wires to the side like that, and then we can use those wires to connect to the main frame. So I can wrap this in through here. It's a bit fiddly, this work. So I've just put those two top wires around the top section. I'm now going to wrap these wires in around the main frame. So I've got to try and sort of thread them through. Right, so we've got the main frame and everything put down. We need to secure this rock a little bit more because it keeps on slipping. We'll do that via putting more wraps over it. Now with this thread here, I think what I'll do, I'm going to keep this bit here for now because I think I might do something with it. I don't know yet. Now we're going to put some more wire over the top of this. So next step in this is I'm going to just try and make some parts that go over the top of this. Some pliers, I'll just pinch this down like this. I'm going to bring it out. Get my handy pasta maker out for this. I'm going to attempt to do something here. Put this in, but we won't do the whole thing. We'll just do part of it. Now, I should be able to change the things and make it slider. Kind of did it, sort of. It's a bit flatter. So I want to try and connect this down to this bottom wire here. Alright, that's connected. I'll just make sure that it's nice and tight. My eyes are not the best anymore, so I can't see if that's very clean or not, but... So, the next step of what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and tarnish the copper. I've never done this before, and I'm hoping this stuff does not react with the stone. Fingers crossed. We have this stuff. It's liver of sulfur. I've got one container full of warm water and one container full of cold water. What I do is I get baking soda and put a bunch of that in there. That is a neutralizer mixture. So that will neutralize the effects of the sulfur. And then I get this. Now I've got rubber gloves on. I'm supposed to put about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I put 5 dots of it in there. Oh, it's stinky. And I mix that around too. So what I'll do first is I'll just do a couple of tests. So we've got just a little bit of scrap here. Now chuck it in. Hopefully it should start changing color. As you can see, it's already starting to go darker. Right, we do have a slight issue here. As you can see, some of the wire is going black. Some of the other wire is not. The square wire doesn't seem to want to change color though, which might be a problem. Alright, so we're going to risk it. Stuff it. Let's do this. In she goes. And as you can see, some parts are going dark, other parts aren't. That's not good. Chuck that in the neutralizer. So there. I'm going to try and rub this back. So we'll have a look at this with the chain on. Yeah, that kind of worked all right. So that turned out actually really well. I was surprised by that, by the tarnishing and everything. The piece is available if anyone wants to purchase it. I'll probably put a price tag of about $100 on it because there was a fair bit of work put into it to actually get to that point, and materials and whatever. I will be doing more of these videos in the future, but they're a lot more difficult to do because there's a lot of different editing things that I have to do. I'm using 2 cameras instead of 1, so yeah, they're not as frequent as what the prospecting videos would be, so I'll do more, don't worry about that. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the weekend, I guess. Bye.